Welcome to another episode of Inside York Tech, a podcast featuring students, staff, and alumni of the York County School of Technology.
Welcome back to another episode of Inside York Tech. I'm your host, Nick Staub, and today we are with a national champion, Hannah Williams. I'm going to let her tell you more about which competition she won, but we're really excited to have her. Hannah, how you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So, Hannah is a junior in our early education program. She also participates in Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, commonly referred to as FCCLA. And that is why you're here today. So, you just recently won a national championship. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So, FCCLA consists of a lot of different events that you can partake in. Some are individual and some are team based. And York Tech mainly focuses on star events in our chapter, which are individual or team as well, but we can go up to 3 people in each team. I decided to do an individual event this year called Teacher Train, and I taught my second grade students at my center that I go to for early childhood how to use their coins and how to use money because that's when they're starting to gain money and starting to get really into like, oh, my parents do this with their money. And I won gold for it. I went to the state level and got gold and a nationals bid. And York Tech was amazing and sent me to Seattle and I won nationals there.
So, before you even get to Seattle, though, I'm sure you had to qualify for nationals.
Yes.
Was there a regional event? How did you qualify?
So some states around the country do regional events before they go to a state competition, but our state, we just go straight to states. I think there were 4 people in my event that I competed against. There's obviously a lot more people in different events, but there were only 4 competing against me. And more than one person can get gold. I think it's 2 people can get gold and then one gets silver and one gets bronze. I was the one that got gold with the nationals bid, and the other gold winner just got gold. They weren't able to go to nationals.
So I'm curious to hear more about the actual experience in Seattle. So you show up in Seattle. Obviously, I think there were maybe 8 other York Tech students
Yes.
and 2 advisors.
Yes.
So you show up in Seattle. You're entered in the teach or train segment or competition portion of the event. Describe the room. Like, are the other competitors there seeing your presentation to the judges? How does that work?
So when you're in your competition room, it's very different because there are a lot of different events going at once throughout the day. So there were different hotels that people competed at, like off the campus of the convention center. There's different rooms in the convention center that people are competing in, but my room specifically was a pretty big room. So there were, I think, 7 different stations in there that people were competing in, and I was in one of them, but they were pretty spaced apart. So you couldn't really see or hear what the other was competing against, which is good because you don't want to really know your competition because then you're scared. You're like, oh, what's going to happen if they get it and I don't? Like, it's very nerve wracking to be in a room with all those people.
I assume that you're displaying your presentation in front of judges and explaining
Yeah.
kind of what went into it and the work behind it. What was that feeling like? Were you nervous?
So I competed at states freshman year and sophomore year. So I wasn't nervous to present in front of the judges per se because I kind of knew what was expected of me. I knew that there's a time consultant that times how long because different events have different time restrictions for how long you can talk. I know there's a room consultant that does your points based on your binder, based on your dress code, based on if you're speaking well. So I wasn't really scared for the judges. I was more scared about my speech because at states, my advisor knows this and my classmates know this. I did not have a speech written for states. I was not prepared at all. And knowing that I was prepared for nationals was great. So I really wasn't that nervous to actually present. I was just more nervous to be there.
So let me get this straight. You qualified for nationals after not really preparing anything
No,
for state.
I went out on a wing and I just said what I thought was in this binder. Like I knew what was in my binder and I knew what to say. I just didn't have note cards in front of me. I hadn't practiced the speech. I was actually writing a speech 20 minutes before I was supposed to compete at states and I didn't have enough time. I just went on with it. I just went for it.
So let's fast forward to when you found out that you'd won. Walk me through that moment when you found out you won. Were you in a big conference room? I would
We
imagine.
were I think it was called the Flex Hall in the convention center in Seattle. It was very big. I think there were 7,000 of us in that room. We lined up by our event. The top 10 were all sitting with each other in teacher train. And we lined up and we got on the stage. They called third place, and it wasn't me. And I was like, oh, well, then that means I got fourth or below. I'm not that mad. At least I'm here. And then they called second, and I knew the girl that got it because we had met when we were sitting down. I was very proud of her. And then they called first, and it was me. And I have a recording that my mom sent me because she was watching a live stream, a recording of me getting so surprised and just walking up and smiling as big as I could with my plaque in my hand. It was like, I was in shock for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I watched some of that live recording, and it's no joke. I mean, it's a huge stage. The announcement is they make a big deal out of it.
Yes.
So you're kind of in shock a little bit. What's gone through your mind as you're receiving your? I think it was a plaque you received,
Yeah.
right? What's going through your mind?
I honestly don't even know. Like when I got it and I stood up, I was smiling for the picture. They were like, they're taking professional pictures. So I had to smile. And in my head, I was just like, how did I get number one? Like there are so many people out there in this country that probably did better projects than me. And I was so in shock. Like I still am. It was crazy.
So you're thinking that others may have had better projects, but I would imagine your speech kind of really took you over the.
I think that's what it was. And I practiced my speech a lot for nationals. I wrote um, note cards out probably a month before we went. And I'd practice every day. I have a recording in my phone of me practicing at home. I practiced to my parents. I practiced to my friends. I knew I was ready. So I went into that competition in front of the judges, not looking at my note cards. I didn't even need them. I thought I would need them and I didn't. And I think the speech is what really intrigued them.
I'm curious to go back to when you were implementing your project at your center. First off, would love to know which center you're at, and then tell me a little bit more about the implementation and how the students received it and what the activities involved.
Okay, so I was at Valley View Elementary in York, where it's about 10 minutes from York Tech,
Yeah, so that's actually in one of our participating school districts, York Suburban School District.
York Suburban. And I was in Mrs. Taylor's second grade classroom for about 2 weeks. My center placement at the time was Mrs. Tyson's class in Valley View in kindergarten. But my main goal out of high school is to become a second grade teacher. So I was able to connect with Mrs. Taylor and meet her students before I did the project. And when I did it, we learned word problems counting with coins because Mrs. Taylor had told me before that they were not very great with their word problems. They understood them, but not as in like, oh, I can master this. So I included some of their names that were in the class, which made them laugh a lot because there were some funny word problems. I remember the one I did was with one of the students' names, and they went to a yard sale and they found this rubber duck, and they just found that so funny. And it was so fun to teach it to them because we did word problems and then they were able to maneuver the coins, put them on sheets, see, oh, this quarter is worth 10 or 25, and they mastered that right away. So we just did a lot with like touching the coins, putting them where they're supposed to be, and a lot of word problems.
Well, I'm not sure some people understand how big of a deal this is. A lot of people they go to traditional high school, they want to be a teacher, they go to college, and for many, they're not getting that first teaching experience until they're a student teacher in senior year of college. So we're talking about maybe 21, 22, 23 years old. So you're essentially a sophomore at the time,
Yes.
implementing a live lesson with real second graders at a local elementary school.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. I mean, how does that improve your psyche or confidence to go out and achieve that goal of becoming a second grade teacher?
I think that being at this school in early childhood is just an amazing experience. And I did talk about this in my speech that coming here and getting the experience that other high schoolers don't get to have. I started teaching lessons my third month of freshman year, and it took a lot of work to actually get them to what they are now, but they're fun. I love seeing the students engaged and so happy. And now that I have a lot of experience with doing lessons, I think I've done about like almost 10 lessons. in the past 2 years, I'm able to take that to college and be able to lesson plan as soon as I get in there. If they have to reteach it, that's okay, but I already know what I'm doing.
I would have to imagine that gives you a little bit of a leg up once you hit
Oh,
that first year
definitely.
in college.
Yeah.
So why second grade?
I had a second grade teacher. Well, my second grade teacher, I went to Red Lion School District, and my second grade teacher is probably one of my favorite teachers that I've ever had in the past 11 years of schooling. She was amazing. She really connected with her students. And I think second grade, like academically, why I want to be in there is because they already know some of their things. They know their letters, they know their numbers, but now they're starting to grow more. They're starting to get their reading comprehension. They're starting to learn even how to multiply at the end of second grade. I think those topics, like writing, using handwriting, they learn that in second grade. Typing on keyboards, that helps them for the rest of their life. And I think that's why I want to do second grade, just because I don't want to teach them all, this is A, this is B. I want to teach them, oh, what is 5 times 5? And I want them to understand that.
I would imagine that being able to list national champion on your resume when
Yes.
applying to colleges or even applying for that first job, it has to be pretty huge. Talk to me about what that means to know that's forever going to be something you can own, national champion.
I think that is great because I can talk to my future employers or future colleges about what FCCLA really is and talk to them about my experiences and how it can change lives.
And speaking about FCCLA, you have to be in that early childhood program in order to participate.
Yes.
How does somebody go about getting involved in FCCLA if they're like, we're going to have a brand new school year starting here soon? Those incoming first year students who are entering early childhood education, how do they get involved?
So Miss Miller usually makes it a very big deal for the freshmen. She has a board in her room. It's like takes up 1/3 of her whiteboard and it has all the different things about CCLA. She usually has a meeting with all of the freshmen about what it is if you want to join. She talks about the different events that we do. And there is a regional leadership meeting for Central PA FCCLA. And she likes to take one or two freshmen to let them explore what it really is about. We also, as upperclassmen, like to just go in there and say, oh, this is what I'm doing this year for my project. Are you interested? Like, we like to show them what we've done before and how to get involved into it.
You're only going to be a junior. You've already won a national championship. Are there other goals that you've set for yourself here in high school that you have yet to achieve?
Academic wise, I've just always wanted to get good grades, honestly. I'm doing all honors classes this year, and I did them all last year. So I want to graduate with honors. I want to be sort of at the top of my class, but not academic speaking. I want to be on varsity for field hockey. This is my second year, so I'm not exactly on varsity yet, but that is what I plan to achieve. I also want to get another national championship in the next 2 years, or at least a gold at state conference. I think that that would be really cool to just get another gold and say, oh, I've done it twice, not just once, but I've done it twice.
Well, there's no doubt you have the skills to do it, but we'd be remiss if we didn't mention some of your other members of FCCLA who experienced success at the national level. I think we had at least what 6 total medals
Yes.
and 3 gold medals, including yours.
I think there were four. Yes. I think it was me, Abigail, Malia and Jalen got one, and then Ginger also got another one. So I think there were four. And then for silver, we had PJ, Ava, and Kylie Reaper.
I know in watching the live stream, it seemed like your county school of technology's name was coming up an awful lot. Did it seem like we had more winners than some of the other schools that participated?
Yes, definitely. But I'm really proud that four of our groups got top 10 mention, even. That's crazy to me that half of our eight that went got to top 10. And even if they got gold and didn't make it to top 10, they still got gold and they still got silver at a national competition.
Yeah, I think growing up playing sports, I sort of equate it to sports. This is just as big, if not bigger, than winning that state title in basketball and then moving on to some sort of national tournament. This is really huge.
Yes.
So we're absolutely ecstatic for you, your other teammates that went to Seattle and competed. and could not be more proud of the fact that we're sitting down with a national champion. So,
Thank you.
Hannah, thank you for being here with us today. Do you have any parting words of wisdom?
No?
All right. Well, thanks for being here. We look forward to hearing more about FCCLA in the future and hopefully another gold medal in your future.
Yes, hopefully.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Inside York Tech. Catch all future episodes by visiting ycst.info/podcast.